Greetings, people of the greater world! Broadcasting live from the Academy at the largest library in the known realms, this is Storytime Q&A, a Realm Jumper talkback show. Oh my god, I'm so sorry about that. My name is Austin Beringer. I am the voice of Oliver Corbin and your host for this episode of Storytime Q&A and all future episodes, I believe. Today, we're going to be talking about the Cast Skit, the Winter Skit, and the first episode of Realm Jumper. And today I have three lovely guests. We have Sleepy, the voice of Chase. We have B, one of the lovely writers on Realm Jumper.
That is me.
And we have our fearless leader, Bubblytarts.
Hello, that's me.
Most of these questions came from our Discord. Some of them are just ones that I threw in because it's fun. And yeah. Should we get right into it?
Sounds
Let's
good.
go.
Let's see. Our first question, I think we should address the elephant in the room. So, Bubbly.
Yes.
Are Lutheran Guild roommates, or are they roommates from Queen Creeps?
This was the first question that popped up, and I laughed so hard that it was the first question. Well, they were roommates in college. Gives you a thumbs up.
I'm assuming that's all you're going to give us.
That's all I'm going to give you. They are
Yeah.
very, very good friends. They grew up together, and they were roommates in college. So, winks.
Oh yeah, and everyone is free to chime in on these, by the way.
My chime in is that's a dangerous question to ask considering who's in this call.
That is fair. When I say chime in, we are not going to be delving into spoilers past this point, obviously, but because things have a release schedule, but yeah. So okay, with that hilarious first question out of the way, I guess the best thing to ask, and I guess I actually don't know too much about this, but how did the show come to be? Just kind of generally. This is mainly for Bubbly, but I believe B was somewhat involved in, and B as a writer obviously has been involved in the creation of this show for a much longer time than much of us. But yeah. So, the show. How did show?
I will let Bubbly start because how I come into this is extremely funny.
Oh, yes. I was going to say that I will start off with my hand in where it started, and then you can take over once you get involved.
Sounds good.
So, way, way back in the year of our Lord 2014 or something similar to that.
Jeez.
Um,
Didn't know it was this old.
It's pretty old. It's a complicated story. The simple version is I have a younger brother. And he wanted a bedtime story from me one night. We were sleeping in the same room for some reason. One of our rooms was dirty and needed to be cleaned, or it was getting painted, or something like that. I don't remember. But he asked me to tell him a bedtime story. And I had just finished reading some books that really inspired me, so I was fully in the zone of, I want to be an author, I want to be a writer, I want to come up with all these cool things. And so I came up with a character named Chase. And Chase went on some little adventures with a lot of different characters. And my brother just kept asking for more and more about this character and about what he was up to. And so I kept doing this over and over for years. I tried to come up with various stories for Chase because none of them ever felt right. And along the way, there was always a constant that Chase always had a sister, Amy, and he always had a girl, Tina. And so those are the three characters who were consistent throughout every story. However, there were lots of other characters. I had lots of different genres as I grew up and got into new things. And eventually, when I was about to go off to college, I knew that I wouldn't be able to tell him bedtime stories anymore. So I decided to come up with an idea where all of these characters that Chase met but never really got a finished story with, they all got to meet each other. And that's when I added in Charlie. And that was essentially the rough draft of what Realm Jumper would end up being.
So wait, Charlie's the newest character?
Charlie is, in fact, the newest character. All of the other characters, some of them are still very, very new. Actually, some of the most recent characters were Luther and Gil. Luther, Gil, and Nima were the most recent, and then I added in Charlie. But Chase, Tina, Amy were the original characters that I created, and then everyone else just kind of falls in the middle.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess from there, you have this story that you've created, and then, like, then the Avengers arc happens. How did you assemble, like, this team of, in all honesty, complete lunatics that we are?
Oh, yes. B, you can take that part.
So do I plug now or later?
You
You can talk
plug.
about how you both met. I mean, that's fine if it involves
Yeah,
plug,
yeah,
then that's so be it.
Yeah, it's a bit. Meanwhile, in my corner of everything, I started working on a show called Parallel to Anywhere, which is another story about multiversal travel, believe it or not. And through mutuals and shared fandom spaces, Bubbly and I bump into each other, and I don't know how Bubbly took it, but sooner or later, one night, Bubbly's telling me this idea. I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And Bubbly's like, "Yeah."
Oh wait,
Hmm?
the fabled
Yeah.
Discord call.
Yes. I can let Bubbly take that, but I'll tell you my reaction to it when it happened.
The Discord
yeah.
call, probably.
Yeah, it was B and Midnight and a couple other people. Midnight is another writer on the show. There were some other people as well who were in that call where they were just asking me over and over, "You keep talking about these characters that you have and this big story that you made, but you've never actually told us about it." And I was like, "Yeah, I've actually been thinking more about it because, Parallel to Anywhere is another multiversal story, and that's kind of neat that people like me, like my age and my ability and hanging out in the same areas are able to make a cool show. I would like to make a cool show." And they all went, "Okay, so tell us about it. We
Yep.
would like to help you make a cool show."
Yeah. And that kind of was the start of that.
Amazing.
I think genuinely it took me less than a month after telling everyone, because in that Discord call, I told everyone the full plot of the show, not just season 1, but the entire show.
Oh yeah.
And
You formed a blood pack in that, but a blood pact in that
Yes,
Discord call.
exactly.
Because at the time this was a one day down the road, one day.
And then it turns out one day it was like less than a month later, I was like, "Hey, by the way, I have a casting call. Who would like to audition?"
Yeah. Yep.
The casting call. So I guess what prompted you to kind of like, was the idea to make it an animated series, kind of like, or a visual podcast, I think is the best way to describe the medium in which Realm Jumper is. Did when did that idea come in, and like how did that lead into like a casting call, getting voice actors, all of that? Like, because I'm a voice actor, I would like to know about this.
That one was all me. I knew that B has lots of experience with podcasts, and I knew that he was going to be a writer on the show. So I knew that we would definitely be able to work that angle. But also, I like to do art. So I knew that I wanted to be able to draw my characters, and I was inspired by other medias that were kind of visual podcasts that I was watching at the time that I wanted to take some inspiration from and get some art out there to add to certain scenes or just give people a better idea of what the characters looked like. So it was totally just, I thought it was cool. I wanted to. So I said, we're going to do this.
Yep. The
Well,
only thing that was for me was like, so I don't have to worry about stage direction when I write scripts, right? And Bubbly was like, no. And I was like, perfect, then we're good.
Amazing. And okay, that led to this like audition process that I participated in, and one of our lovely guests also participated in. Sleepy, how did you get attached to this project as the voice of the iconic Chase Realm Jumper and
So
Charlie?
it's kind of a funny story, as I tangentially already knew Bee and Bubbly through a fandom space, a mutual fandom space, except I never talked to them.
Nope.
They were people who existed and were in my periphery, but we had never made anything more than pleasantries, up until a little completely different project that is kind of the fallen through now. Rest in peace.
It walked so this could run.
It walked so this could run, truly. Came out, and that was it was actually going to be a singing thing, and I was like, I sing sometimes, and I had friends who were like, you should go audition for this. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna audition for this. And that's how I first met Bubbly. Bubbly knew me as the dying balloon animal for a good chunk of time.
Sorry,
Because
dying balloon animal?
yeah, because I had to hold a lot of notes for the song, and I would just keep losing air, but it was really funny.
Oh, jeez.
I have a lot of takes of me just dying.
Oh, man.
And so that was kind of how Bubbly and I first got to know each other. And then our other friend, who actually also works on Realm Jumper, they're one of the artists, Ray, when the casting call went out for Realm Jumper, was like, hey, you should go audition, because I know that you voice act, and you've been wanting to voice act, because I do D&D shows, I'm a streamer. I was like, I don't know. I don't really know if like I could really do this. And they're like, no, you should do it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll try for all the femme roles. And they go, no, go for the boys. It's like, okay, I'll go for the boys. I'll go for the boys. I was kind of just encouraged to, and I honestly was going for Cassie when I auditioned. I thought I had no chance to get Chase or Charlie, and I
legit, that is the same exact thing for me and Oliver. I went for Ryder. That was kind of my like. I think it was I was thinking, oh yeah, I've got a low baritone voice. I can do Ryder, and yeah, and I got Oliver. I was like, oh, I guess I'm here now. But
yeah. I still remember when Bubbly DM'd me. I was literally shaking and like trembling. I was so excited, and I joined. And I was just like, "Oh God, I know some of these guys. They recognize me from the fandom space. I have to seem cool." And now, I can say with full certainty and love that like I would not have my current friend group if not for getting pulled into this project in Realm Jumper, and I fucking love you guys. You guys are my friends, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I got wrapped into this craziness, even if I certainly wasn't expecting to.
This is for everyone, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the character or voice, but which character do y'all relate to the most? There are a lot of them.
Ooh, there are in fact 12 main characters.
I actually have a very easy answer for this. It's Charlie.
Ooh, edgy boy.
Edgy boy, yep, which is surprising because I'm not really known for being edgy. I can't say too much for sake of spoiler territory. But Chase and Charlie both have pasts that are, to an extent, very similar to mine. But throughout the show, a lot of the struggles that Charlie deals with are just very similar to ones that I deal with in my own personal life. I don't know what that says about me, to be honest. But I really love Charlie, and I adore Chase. I love both of them, and it's really cool that I get to play with characters that I have such a personal connection with, just due to what I've dealt with.
Amazing. Beer Bubbly. What characters do y'all relate with?
I'm curious to Bubbly's answer.
See, I go back and forth. Listen.
You're children. It's hard to pick.
I feel like The cheating answer is, well, since they're all my characters, they all have a little part of me. But that's the boring answer. So, let's see. Again, have to dodge some spoiler territory, especially because I'm thinking about the full show. I can't do that. That's illegal. I'm gonna say that based off of the episodes we have made, I have recently been feeling a lot of Gil. Gil is the director of the Academy. Gil is very much, I am in charge of these things. I know the people that I care about. It is you guys, points at you. And this is how we are going to do this, and we're going to be in charge, and we're going to be smart about it. And also, oh my god, I have so much to do.
Yeah.
Oh man. Gil is a tired fish boy, if anything.
So true.
B, I feel like I don't know you. I don't think you. I don't talk to you as much as I wish I did. I don't know what character you relate to. What is your character that you relate to the most?
See, it's there's a joke answer, but we'd have to wait a couple things for me to say that. But out of the crew that people know about, I don't know if I'd say relate to entirely, but I have the one I want to talk about. I don't know how correct it is, but uh characters who kind of struck me really quick is like you. I like writing you. It's Tina, actually. Bubbly can tell you I am like a 10 p.m. fit of thinking. Uh Tina was one of those characters who I just like came to Bubbly and was like, so it's like this, right? And just like laid out my thoughts. And Bubbly could tell you how that went on her side, I think. But uh very quickly I just became really endeared to that character because well we saw it in episode 1. Her emotion reading ability is like, oh, there's I am someone who loves thinking through that kind of thing. And I was like, Bubbly, the implications, Bubbly.
Yeah, the quick version of on my side is that even though Tina's one of my oldest characters, she's always been one of the characters who fights me the most on what do you want? Her motivations story to story, like Chase was always like, oh, he's the happy protag boy. Tina always changed depending on the scenario. And so it was very difficult for me to, for Realm Jumper, especially get a read on what her deal was and like how she was going to play off of other characters. I had ideas, but I was very open to how the writing team was going to respond to her because she's one of our leads. She's important. And then B, yes, came to me in the middle of the night and was like, I cracked it. I figured her out and laid it all out. And I went, no, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining like B with a conspiracy board with like Tina circled like 30 times in the center of it and just pointing at it.
Yes.
Because
I've heard B Tina rant. They're good.
Well, because honestly, I think Bubbly did say to us straight up, Tina was one of the characters we were allowed that freedom with. So I felt like comfortable thinking about it that way. And it just kind of came to me. And she quickly became one of my favorite characters because, like, I can't talk about a lot of it, but when it comes up, I'll get to be like, yeah, that was the rant. That was the rant.
It's a good rant.
We have a lot to scream about in the future. I can't say near future, but we got a lot to scream about.
Tina actually shows up a lot of it pretty soon, so I'm happy about that.
We have these three video podcast episodes basically. Let's start by what was kind of like the process of getting through, or the process of making kind of like each of these individual episodes. Let's go chronologically here. So let's like start. What was the process for making the cast skit? Like,
I'll start with this one, but then I will pass it off. Basically, the cast skit, it was agreed upon that we were going to create it while the casting call was going on. We didn't even have a cast at this point, but the writers and I sat down and said, okay, we want to make a little skit to show off who got cast. We want to show, hey, this is what your characters are going to sound like. This is how we're going, and from a behind the scenes perspective, it shows the cast how we are going to run the show. And it was a good opportunity to let all of the voice actors and all of the artists because every single artist also has a piece, or at least the cast of artists that we had when we started the show. Every single person has a piece in there. So it was a great way to, hey, this is who we got for the show. It's going to be great. More content coming soon, but here's your immediate teaser.
Yeah, and I probably can say this. I churned that out in like an evening. I Bubbly like handed me, oh, this is a rough idea of what it's kind of gonna look like, and I was like, can it be like Chase giving a talk about the Academy? Um, Fun fact, P2A, my show, does that same thing where the main character is the one running the show. So it was a very familiar writing space to write about the character talking about the events to a imaginary audience, you know?
Now, I guess we'll go here. So I guess like from the voice actor perspective, Sleepy, how was that experience?
Horrifying. I say that with all the love of the world. This is my first time like voice acting for something scripted. I have done theater productions. I have done live shows, both running and as a player. This was my first time being handed a script and being told, okay, this is your character. This is how you play them. I got the full rundown from Bubbly. So I knew everything about the boys. And oh boy, was I nervous. Because Bubbly can attest. I was instantly endeared to the entire story and of the show. And I really wanted to give it justice and do it well. So I had a lot of like internal pressure of just like, okay, I need to make this good. I need to make this good. And I started up the process that I do for every episode of Realm Jumper now, my little ritual of I make the biggest fucking coffee I can and I drink it. I drink it while I record. And like 24 ounces of coffee. I got a Keurig downstairs. It's great. I'm always a little wired by the end of a recording session.
It makes sense for Chase and Charlie, and definitely Chase. I'm not sure, not as much sure about Charlie for that, but like just being absolute, drinking coffee while voice acting. Oh man,
I don't like tea. It's the only thing I can drink. But it was really interesting because while I was getting to know the characters, I think you can really tell this in the Cast Skit. And there's a big difference in the Cast Skit to episode 1, and it keeps changing. I played Chase, especially, a lot more anxiously. I didn't understand him as well. I was still getting to know him, so to speak. He wasn't in my brain yet. And I thought he was scared, like, all the time. I'm like, oh no, you have anxiety. You're sad. Let me help you.
oh.
So you can kind of, in the earlier playing, you know, he was a lot more like, oh, I don't really know what's going on. I'm just a little guy. And now I know that he's a lot more confident. He's just very happy. And that's kind of what I've learned with Chase, is that he's very happy no matter what's going on.
Yeah, I guess like for the winter skit, it was a little different, especially like for like it was more in like the story time like kind of realm. I guess Bubbly was there like a different process to that, or is it like?
Yes, that one was very different. That I specifically wanted to write, and I wanted it to be something that I could just grab a couple people and bang it out really fast. It was specifically made to be the announcement for the episode 1 release date.
Yes.
So yes, I specifically wrote that knowing it's going to have very little art, it's going to have very little voice actors. That's why Bridget, the character that I voice, is the one narrating it. Because then I know that I am the one who's doing 90% of the lines, and I could edit that as much as I needed to or retake them if needed. It was meant to be as easy on me as possible so I could speedrun it.
Yeah.
I think I had that entire skit done in 2 or 3 weeks after giving the voice actors their assignments.
Yeah, it was a very quick turnaround.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was very, for like compared to some of the other stuff, like episode 1. Oh, segues, what are they? But yeah, But yeah, I guess like for the process for episode 1, first episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thing.
no,
Yeah.
I will say a very funny note for me with episode 1 was that because Bubbly wrote the script, because the voice actors and artists kind of worked off that, 1 was really an experience of getting to watch the process, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and I think what's extremely fun about that was I remember watching the premiere and sitting there just going, "Oh, that's where that joke went." 'Cause I didn't have it memorized, I didn't remember where all the bits were, but I remembered, like, some floating jokes that needed to happen in the early episodes. I'm like, "Oh, there it is, awesome."
Yes, we can finally talk about Son of a Selkie.
We can talk about
Son
Son
of
of a
a
Selkie.
Selkie.
Oh man. Okay, that kind of like segues pretty nicely actually into jokes. There's some in this. There are jokes in this show.
There are.
As the writers of this show, what are some of your favorite jokes from the first 3 things that we've seen so far?
Bubbly, please go first.
So, um, this one is a very self-indulgent one because I wrote episode 1. It's a very quick blink and you'll miss it line. But in episode 1, Luther has a line when he's talking to Chase when they're sitting outside right before Tina shows up. He's explaining what the academy is, and Chase is like, "Oh, you're a teacher. I thought that you were a scientist." And I did not give any direction for how to deliver this line, so I gotta shout out Burnt, who I just wrote the line, "Oh goodness, no, I just hang out with too many of them." He delivered it like Luther was scandalized to be associated with Gil and Jen, and it was the funniest thing I had ever heard. I immediately told the audio editor, Radio did the audio editing for episode 1. I immediately told him, "You have to use this take. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Please use this take."
Oh man. Well, son of a Selkie is an iconic line. I need that on merch.
Yes. It's
um,
the fact that it's now in Spy's daily vocabulary is so funny. Yeah, Sleepy mentioned that Sleepy, Midnight, and Spy were in call
Really
doing
good.
the screaming, the improv screaming, because in the script it just says, "Oh, you guys improv in the background while Chase, Tina, Luther have this scene." But the thing is, I was also there because I was trying to time them correctly so that we had enough footage of them yelling and then Gil yelling something for his one line that was needed, but it didn't say what. So I was sitting there listening to them and I got to hear Spy was trying various things and eventually he just yelled out, "Son of a Selkie!" And everyone lost their minds the first time. We couldn't use that take because we all just started laughing and I was like, "Nope, we have to use this now."
I got to have Charlie bite Gil, which is important to me personally. That Charlie got to bite Gil. And I really like, because I guess we're talking about jokes, and I might not be on the writing team, but at the very least among the friend group, it's become a running gag that people just have a bad habit of biting Gil in one way or another.
are there any jokes in the Cast Skit? I guess it's been a while.
I wrote it, so I have a couple I enjoy. Um, the 2 that immediately come to mind are, Luther and Gil's banter back and forth, about Chase's video, and I forget how it comes up, but, Luther's kind of prodding Gil about being a scientist again, about like how, "Oh, this your brilliant scientist mind should know how to work a audio editing platform." And Gil completely innocently says, "The sheer audacity," and Luther goes, "Yeah, exactly."
Oh my god!
No, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
man.
I'm so stupid.
It was such a
So
dumb
good.
bit, but it made me
Excellent.
happy. The casket
Uh,
was pseudo canon, so I was able to make so many little, you know.
fun little in jokes.
Yeah, there was also one about One of my favorite bits is the, like, setting up something cool and then immediately tearing it down. So the ending with Amy, because Amy is not in the academy, but I still needed to reveal Amy's voice actress. So I just had the skit end on Amy watching it and just panning it and just giving my writing crap. It was great.
Oh, man.
I also want to shout out my favorite joke in the cast skit that you reminded me of. It was my Discord status for a solid month or so because it was so funny. Was in Ryder's monologue. He's talking about himself because Chase is like, "Well, tell me about yourself, Ryder." And he goes, "My name is Ryder J. Doyle. The J stands for justice." And that was
That
funny
was
on its
you.
own.
I think the J stands for justice was a you idea. I just played
It was
with
either me or Midnight because we were sitting over your shoulder watching this. I don't remember. It might have been Juno. I don't know. Someone was there. Someone said the J stands for justice. We all lost it, and then it escalated because the next couple lines is Chase going, I'm pretty sure that's a lie," and Ryder going, "It won't be once I finish signing those pesky documents."
Yeah.
Oh,
Ryder's
man.
changing his name to the Chase. God. Also, just Charlie in the casket because I couldn't do much with Charlie. I couldn't reveal a ton about Charlie, so I had to have Charlie actively not want to be interviewed. So yeah. Also, the times where I got to break the camera, those were fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
Both because of Cassie's superpower and Chase's butterfingers around penis.
Listen, anytime I get to yell as Charlie is a good day.
Oh, also,
Yeah.
one of the bits that I want to shout out Austin for was the delivery of
Yes.
Oh my
Oliver's
god.
your mom joke.
Oh, my
We had
God.
the your mom joke. You had no right making it that funny, but you did, and it was my favorite part of editing that.
I was almost gonna cut it because I was like, is this seems like a tasteless thing to include in an
Something Oliver
introduction
would
to our
say.
show. Yeah, it seems like a bit of a crass thing to show, like the hey, welcome to our world and show to have that thrown in there. But something about like the mad cackling Jen trying to get Chase to leave and like the almost cut out. It sold it, I think.
As a fan of shitty your mom jokes, I appreciate it on a personal level.
I feel like this is a short one. This is a good one to end on, I think. We're coming up on time here. But this is a show. How many episodes are there going to be in the first season?
So I have mostly an answer for you. We are going to be taking a mid-season break halfway through. So we do know that the first half of season 1 is going to have 8 episodes. We already have almost all of those done, or at least in the production pipeline. And then we're going to be taking a little bit of break just so that we can catch up on some backlogs, so that we can continue with the show and make sure that there's no like long hiatus that just randomly happens. We want to make sure that this is a consistent upload schedule. So the second half of season 1, then we don't have a solid number. We have an idea. My tentative, don't hold me to it number is 5 in the second half, but again, that is subject to change. That's depending on there's certain things that we need to get done, obviously, over the course of the season, and so we want to make sure that those all get done with their proper due time.
Stellar. So, remind me again, when does the second episode of this show come out again?
The second episode is going to be coming out March 25th, and as similar to episode 1, it will be coming out at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I think that's about it for this first episode of Storytime Q&A. Thank you so much for joining us, all three of y'all. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, do all that engagement nonsense, and stay tuned because more Realm Jumper is coming very soon.
Yes.
I have no idea what we're doing for the outro.
That's okay, we killed the bot.